a look at these seedling beauties. You know that your seedlings are ready to plant when they have their second set of leaves. And then if you pull up, you can see that it already has a really nice root system. That's when you know it's ready to transplant. If you pull on some and it doesn't feel like it's going to give you an entire rooted cell, then I just leave that one there and wait a couple more days, and I just continue with the rest that pull out super easy. One of the most imperative steps is to make sure not to overwater your seedlings inside of your home. You actually want to wait until they're almost all the way dry and actually just a tiny bit wilty. As soon as you start seeing a little bit of wilting in the stem, that's when you know it is time to water them. Before then, they are fine. When I first seeded these, you saw that I used my sink hose to water them in. And that's so that way the surface of the soil is nice and wet for that seed to start germinating. As my seedlings are growing, I no longer do it this way. I go ahead and I turn on my water, lukewarm water, and I start filling up my sink about 1/4 of an inch. Once my sink is filled about 1/4 of an inch, I go ahead and put my little seedling tray in there. And if you're not doing seedling trays, it can be in those peat pots or individual pots, however you seeded them. This is now how I actually water all of my plants. So I even will take this entire pot right here, just stick it in there, and how you know it's fully watered is it goes from looking dry, a light color brown soil, to looking wet, a color black soil. So as you can see, the soil has now turned black. So it is ready and watered. Now I'm going to show you how easy it is to transplant your own seedlings inside your home. I'm going to show you what steps I take and what I use, and I'm also going to give you a few little tips. So let's get planting. Today I'm going to show you how I transplant my cauliflower and my tomatoes. I also have here 3-pack cells. I'll go over that as we go. I also have trays to set those 3-pack cells in. This here is unnecessary, but I have it here just to catch my extra dirt. And then here I have a potting soil that is actually my own mixed potting soil. I love it. If you don't have anything like these 3-pack cells, you can always use a 3.5-inch pot or something smaller. You don't want to go any bigger than a 3.5-inch pot, because planting these small little seedlings in anything bigger, it would just drown it out. Because as soon as you water it, it's just going to sit there in all of that wet soil for a long time. And it may take off, but I guarantee you a large percentage of your plants will end up rotting off. If you're growing in a greenhouse or outside, they'd be fine. But because we're inside of our homes, this is a very, very specific tip that you need to follow, and that is to not go over a 3.5-inch pot, even if you're using those little peat cells. So if you're not seeding in these small little cells, there's those peat cells, the ones that are about, you know, an inch, the inch size. And those you don't even want to go over 3.5 inches with. So really all you're doing is taking one step further, and that is just bumping it up. That's what I call it. Bump it up into that next step of a pot, and then it'll get a really good root system. Once it has that good root system, it's got a bigger root system, it'll be ready to plant outside once it's time and we're clear of that last frost. I'm going to start off with my tomato seedlings here. You can squeeze on the bottom if you want. That literally just loosens up that root. Once you pull it out, you can see that it's shaped in that perfect cell shape. It's rooted very nicely. So as you can tell on the tomato stem here, there's a lot of little fuzzies. Those are actually roots. So if you plant this down further into the soil, which you want to do with tomatoes, that's when you get more rooting along this entire stem. All you're going to want to do is make a hole, put your seedling inside, and with tomatoes, I plant them deeper because like I said, they get those roots all the way up. and that way it'll get a stronger base. And there you go, you pat it down around, and there it is. It's standing nice and straight up. It's in that cell really nice, and now you've set it up for successful rooting. Once you're done planting up a 3-pack cell or a pot, this is what these trays are for. They can hold any size pot, or you can use any tray you have. It can even be a food tray if you want. All this is for is to be able to bring it and carry it to get it watered from spot to spot. It's also great for turning it for when it needs more sun in other areas, unless you have a grow light. As you can tell, this cauliflower is rooted up even nicer than those tomatoes. Make a hole, put it in, and then you're just covering the surface of that root ball there. And that's it, simple as that. Now I'm going to show you how we water it. The first time you water your new planted seedlings, you're going to want to water them all the way through. I always use my sink hose, nice and light. I just go over them like this. The first time I do it this way. The second time I do it just like I've been watering my seedlings, like I showed you earlier in this video. As you can tell, it's dripping on the bottom. That tells me that it's watered all the way through. I'm just gonna let it sit there and drip dry. Another step while growing in your home that is super important is adding a small fan. This will help circulate the air, and it'll eliminate the possibility of getting those little gnats or any other unwanted bugs that aren't beneficial. It also helps make the stems stronger of your plants. By that breeze hitting them, kind of reenacts what the outdoors are going to be like when it's windy. Last year, I had really great success with growing in my home, just using that south side window. But the one thing I did notice was, some of my plants started stretching just a little bit, even though I kept continuing to turn them every single day. Once we are clear of that frost, you don't want to just go ahead and take your full-grown plants and plant them outdoors. What you want to do is what's called hardening your plants. What you're going to want to do is, once we start getting a few nice days, start putting your plants outside for only 1 to 3 hours during the hottest point of the day, and then take them in. You're going to want to do that for up to a week. Once we're clear of frost, then your plants should actually be ready to be planted outside. If you just go ahead and plant these beautiful plants that were just hanging out inside, having this perfect weather and temperature inside, and just throw them outside in springtime to go ahead and be planted, you are not going to have a successful plant. It's actually going to have a very bad reaction. Your plant may actually die, and if it doesn't die, it's going to be set back quite a few weeks because it's going to go into what we call shock mode. And you don't want it to go into shock mode. So that's why we use the method hardening your plants. That concludes your lesson for today on how to transplant your seedlings inside of your home.